Welcome to the first episode of the Unordinary Alignment Chart series. I will go through 9 different characters, explain their characters, where it started, where it goes, different interactions with others, so on, so forth, other things. And I will place them into the handy D&D alignment chart. There are 9 different slots, each representing one of the different categories. Lawful, neutral, and chaotic run along the top. These represent how well they listen and follow and care for rules and authority, and in Unordinary's case, the hierarchy. And along the side, we have good, neutral, evil. These represent their morals, how they act, what they do, how they behave, things like that. For example, a Robin Hood type character would go into chaotic good. He steals from people, sure, but he gives it to the poor. Now that we have the series explained, let's talk about our favorite fallen king, Arlo. Arlo first appears in episode 13, to all of the commenters' joy. For you see, a little background. Arlo is the king of Wellston, the school that all the characters go to. The hierarchy is probably the most important aspect of the webtoon Unordinary. The school follows a hierarchy. It's kind of like a deck of cards. People fulfill different roles. The stronger you are, the higher up the hierarchy you will be. Starting with the ace at the very top, then the king, queen, and jack being the top of the hierarchy. The hierarchy can be a little confusing because of Seraphina, Seraphina. Okay, yeah, sure. Seraphina is the queen of Wellston. However, since she's stronger than Arlo, the king, she's also Wellston's ace, to Arlo's disappointment. I'll get to Seraphina eventually, but she's completely detached. She does not care about the hierarchy. She doesn't care about turf wars. She doesn't care about setting an example. But Arlo does. Arlo lives for the hierarchy, demanding that Seraphina does her job, asking her to go out into turf war, tricking her into going when she shows a disinterest. Arlo doesn't care about Seraphina. All he cares about is her power and her strength. Arlo proceeds to fulfill his community name by challenging a different school, a school named Agwin, to a turf war, which is basically like a school duel, to see which school is stronger, and is being a complete douche. When Wellston's Jack, Blake, is messed up by Agwin's queen, Arlo doesn't say anything. Seraphina is actually the one who calls for the round to end. We also get to see Arlo's ability, Barrier. With a 6.3 power level, Arlo can create a force field that makes whoever attacks it take reflective damage. Arlo can win a battle just by standing there and watching someone try their hardest. Arlo easily beats Agwin's queen, but starts to take it too far, trapping them both in his reflective barrier and starts to choke her? Arlo humiliates Agwin's entire team, mocking their queen and hurting their king without even trying. Finally, Seraphina, once again, is forced to step in, breaking Arlo's barrier and causing him to stop the fight. Winning it, sure, but the infighting in the school is embarrassing for them. This brings us to talk about Arlo's ability. He's almost invincible. He can guard attacks easily and win fights without even raising a hand once with his barrier up. He's immune to damage and actually affects the attacks back at the attacker. He doesn't need to do anything, which leads to Arlo's personality. He's cocky and he's rude. He has a snarky attitude. He literally wins fights without even throwing an attack. He's like nothing can touch him. But it all goes away when his barrier breaks. It's heavily implied that when his shield breaks, he takes immense damage. Whenever he breaks, he stops fighting. When Seraphina breaks his shield, he lets go of Agwin's queen. When John breaks it, he's stunned for long enough for John to take him down. When Arlo's barrier breaks, the facade of a cool, calm, collected leader breaks down as well. And it goes to someone who blames others for their wrongdoing. He yells at Seraphina for fighting back, even though he was the one who started to go too far. Anyways, his next important role is as a manipulative monster. Arlo blames John, our main character, for making Serafina turn from the perfect ace and queen of Wellston to a slacker. So he tries to learn all he can about John, eventually finding out that John actually has an ability. This infuriates Arlo. Arlo knows that John is a high tier, so why is he not acting like one? Why is he not following the order of the hierarchy? This leads to Arlo concocting an interesting plan. Arlo's plan was to break John. Break him down so much that he's forced to use his ability. First, by limiting contact with the one person he likes, Serafina. So he turns her into the dean, telling him she's reading Unordinary, a book banned because it inspired people to become vigilantes, superheroes. She's sent home back for like a month, and then he breaks John's phone, making sure he can't talk to her. John is playing the role of a crippled. He's acting like he has no ability, which means he's an easy target. He's constantly being targeted and attacked, slowly but surely starts to break, after attack after attack after attack. Then Arlo plays his final card, friendship. John slowly becomes friends with Arlo, talking to him, inviting him out for boba, talking about role models, even talking about the hierarchy. And just when the community was about to drop his nickname, John runs an errand with Arlo. And this is when Arlo's plan finally comes together. Arlo ambushes John with the help of these two, telling John how he orchestrated everything. His limited contact, the attacks, even his friendship. It was all a clever ruse to break John, to make John reveal his ability. Which I'll get to when I talk about John. This leads John to wreck the other two students who ambushed him in taking down Arlo, technically dethroning him. At this state, John is the true king of Wellston. The only reason that Arlo is still king was because John didn't care. According to John, if anyone finds out about what happened here today, I'll dethrone you. Arlo at this point is only king because John is letting him be king. Because John's lie has gone too far and too long for him to stop. Arlo then spends some time in denial, not listening to what John has to say because he still thinks he's the king. And whenever Arlo wouldn't do something, John would get physical, reminding him who won the battle. Until Arlo finally had enough. Oh, cry me a river, John. Was that your way of defending your actions? I want a life away from rankings. I never wanted to be a part of this. Not a single high tier has a choice on that matter. We're all born into it. Who doesn't want a calm life? We enforce this order so that everyone can live as peacefully as possible. So don't throw blame onto me for picking up your irregular behavior, or onto something as trivial as me not following an order. You put yourself in this position. You have no one but yourself to blame. All of this could have been avoided if you had established your place in the hierarchy to begin with, if you had used your power for anything. Understand? You're letting yourself waste away as if you're some kind of victim. This, unsurprisingly, upsets John. And what else is John gonna do except, well, he says this. You want me to do something, Arlo? Then fine, I will. I'll start by tearing down your precious system. I'm gonna break the hierarchy. How's that? John proceeds to destroy Blake, then Cecile, and just when John's about to fight Remy, Arlo finally realizes that the entire reason that John is fighting, the reason that people are getting hurt, is his fault. A system that he thought would help keep people safe is the very reason that John, the Shadow King, the Joker, is running around, is messing up his friends. Finally, he confronts John, asking him to step away from everyone and just to deal with him. This is actually such an interesting moment for Arlo. Arlo, the king of Wellston, the person who believed in everything he did, all those steps to break John, who's cocky, who's rude, who's manipulative, and well, just kind of a douche. He swallowed his pride and apologized to John, finally taking on his duty, the burden of being a king. A king is someone who leads and protects his people. Arlo finally realized what he had to do, and he tries to stop John. Not by fighting, no tricks, no lies, just an apology. It's unfortunate that John made up his mind though. He still wants to fight. So he does. Fighting Remy, but unlike before, Arlo steps in to help Remy, fighting a losing battle. And when John's about to absolutely wreck Remy, Arlo tackles him, sacrificing himself so Remy doesn't get hurt any more than she is. This is when I tell you that Arlo is a terrible person, right? When I tell you that everything Arlo did was super wrong. I'm not saying Arlo's in the right here. But one commenter from my Is John the Villain or the Victim episode wanted to defend Arlo. Stelap's lover brought up an interesting point. Arlo's role model is Ray, Remy's brother. Ray was the king before Arlo, but he was different compared to other kings. Ray was optimistic. He wanted everyone to get along. He wanted low tiers and high tiers to live in harmony, to be friendly. According to Cecile, he's a guy who ignored the hierarchy and tried to bring everyone on equal footing. He gave low tiers the false hope that they could actually compete in life, then burdened us high tiers with unnecessary responsibilities. He completely overlooked the fact that if you neglect the hierarchy, people become confused, fights will break out, and those who think they stand a chance will get hurt. Your brother left the school in complete chaos. At least Serafina and Arlo were able to clean up some of the mess he made. Ray eventually becomes a superhero, but that life eventually leads him to get killed. Arlo saw how optimism and equality leads to a life of confusion and eventually death. I'm pretty sure that Arlo didn't know that Ray died because of Ember until after he got beaten up by John, but the point still stands. Arlo sees the hierarchy as a way to protect everyone. He sees it as a way of life, the way to make sure everyone lives a peaceful life. No matter what it takes, Arlo demands that everyone follows the order of things. No matter who he needs to fight, no matter who he needs to break, everyone should still follow the order. And while he might become less of a terrible person, I still believe that Arlo deserves to fall into lawful evil. Granted, take evil with a little salt. He's not a villain. Sure, what he's done is not forgivable, but he sure is one hell of an antagonist. And remember that antagonist and villain aren't the same thing. A villain is very black and white. An antagonist stands in the protagonist's way. Arlo stands in John's way. Sure, what we get is a little one-sided, but it's more human than a villain. I'm putting Arlo in lawful evil because he follows every rule to the T. He follows the order of things, the hierarchy, and he's not afraid to force others to follow the exact hierarchy he believes so much in. Sure, he's not 100% evil, but he is still kind of a terrible person, pushing the hierarchy no matter what. That's why I believe he belongs in lawful evil. But until next time, thank you for watching.